If you find yourself overthinking about how to do everything the right way and you're tired of delaying tasks or taking action because it all just feels too overwhelming, then you are in the right place. Perfecting Imperfectionism invites you to move past overthinking and self-doubt, declutter your mind, and create a life that reflects who you really are. I'm Laura Meredith, and I'm a certified professional coach and ambitious professional. My mission is to show you the power of embracing imperfectionism so you too can create a career and life you love. Let's start perfecting imperfectionism. Welcome to Perfecting Imperfectionism. I am so excited to get started with you. Before we get into the content of today's episode, I'll do a quick introduction. I am Laura Meredith. I am host of the podcast and I'm a certified professional coach. And I'm so jazzed to be kicking off our very first episode of Perfecting Imperfectionism. I'm really so energized by the idea of you listening and sharing this with you today because I am just so ready to share everything that I have learned with you about the beauty of imperfectionism and how powerful it can be to let go of unrealistic expectations that we put on ourselves and learn how to live in flux and be connected to who we are and what matters to us. And today I am going to share with you a little bit about what this podcast is about, why I started it, and get into a little bit of my story, and then share some things that are coming soon that you can look forward to in future episodes. So let's get into what this podcast is. So this podcast is designed to be a space for those who are looking to stop this never-ending cycle of not feeling good enough and holding yourself and others to extremely high expectations that end up being detrimental to us, detrimental to our success and to our relationships and happiness, and end up creating imposter syndrome and unnecessary barriers for us to live our lives and succeed. And they end up breaking our confidence down. And my goal is for you to learn how to build confidence in yourself and in your choices and find what you're passionate about and commit to it and live fully without feeling guilty or like you're not good enough or like you don't deserve it or you need to do it in the right way or the best way. All of these reasons that can hold you back from doing what you are excited about doing. Because a lot of times when we do those things that create the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and reduce our ability to feel confident in ourselves, we end up doing those things in spite of ourselves. And when we learn to break free from that, that really gives us the opportunity to create and explore our lives and explore ourselves and find out what matters to us and connect deeper to that. And then ultimately thrive in our careers and thrive in our lives too. And you may be listening to this and thinking that you don't struggle with perfectionism or your self-doubt or imposter syndrome comes from some other reason. But what's really interesting is that most people have at least some perfectionist tendencies. Whether they are covert or overt is really another thing, but it can be sneaky and it can show up as overthinking or manifest as procrastination or people pleasing. And then of course, as I've been saying, self-doubt. So sometimes when these things happen, it can occur because perfectionism is praised in the workplace and it helps us progress throughout our careers. But ultimately, if it goes unchecked and the perfectionism goes too far, which it often does, it can lead to burnout It can make us feel stuck, and it can make us feel unsatisfied, and it can remove potential satisfaction and fulfillment that we can actually get from our careers. So even though the results from perfectionism, like the business results, the output of the work that you're doing is praised, the process of doing that actually does often do us a disservice when it comes to our careers. And we're going to spend lots of time getting into that as well on this pod. And my goal with this podcast is to help ambitious professionals break free from this perfectionism and build confidence authentically, and then lead authentically. And ultimately, when you do this work for your career and you have those results, you will see those results in your life as well. And I will be shocked if everything doesn't change for you, because everything will change. I just know it. Things will change for you if you can break free from these things and can lead authentically and have that confidence and not feel controlled by your perfectionist tendencies. It's just so exciting and fantastic. And I cannot wait for you to explore all of this and uncover all of these amazing things that you didn't even know were within yourself. And now I want to share with you a little bit of the origin of the podcast and why I'm doing this. And I'll start with the title. So the reason that I picked the title Perfecting Imperfectionism is because it really reflects this journey of dismantling the perfectionism and still leaning into it a little bit in some areas, and then learning to love imperfection. So for myself, as a current perfectionist in some ways, and I'm also a perfectionist, that's like very paradoxical here. I understand that this paradox is one that many people face. And I want to learn to be more imperfect. And of course, my instinct is to try to do imperfection right, which is so goofy and silly of me. And I just so appreciate that that's my instinct. And so I just wanted to play on that experience with the title, because this idea of perfecting something is just so relatable to me. It's something that I have worked really hard to dismantle within myself. I'm still doing it in some ways, but I'm largely on the other side, and I know that you can get there too. And imperfection overall is something that I am learning to embrace imperfectly, and I'm really finding so much possibility in the potential of my life and what I can accomplish and who I can be and how I can live and how I view the world and how I build relationships with other people. And I just wanted to call out this shared struggle that recovering or unaware perfectionists face, because I've lived it, I have grown through it, and I'm still growing through it. And even though it is actually impossible to perfect imperfectionism, just because of the paradox between these two words, in that impossibility, that ultimately means that it is actually impossible to unlearn perfectionism in the wrong way. So whatever way you are choosing to be imperfect is actually perfect. How cool is that? Like, that's just the most amazing thing to me. I am obsessed with this idea of perfecting it, because it is an immediate win for the perfectionist in me. It gives me that dopamine, and I can only hold myself to the standard of imperfect, and no matter what I do, it's imperfect. Win. Huge win. Immediate win. So that's really good for me to continue on this journey and to support myself and build my confidence, because I am constantly clocking little wins with my imperfection. And now that we've like celebrated imperfection a little bit, I want to talk about what perfecting imperfectionism is not. So it is not an excuse or an out to stop growing. And if you are someone who struggles with perfectionism, you likely love the idea of self-improvement and continuous development. So you're probably not at risk of saying, I'm relaxed now. I will never have to be better. I will do literally whatever I want, even if it hurts other people or destroys my life. No. This is not what we are doing. What we are going to do is encourage productive action and self-compassion, compassion for others, all while we are growing and thriving and creating and figuring out how to contribute to the world and own our lives in a way that is meaningful and has positive results. And again, what this does not mean is that we are not going to make mistakes, because we are. We are going to make mistakes, but we are going to learn from them. We are going to forgive ourselves and figure out what to do next time. And the possibilities that this work opens up are unbelievable. The peace that will come will truly surprise you. And you may be surprised or inspired by me saying this right now. This might be something that you're like, yeah, I can feel it. I know that this is right. And that's great. And when you get to the other side of it and you actually live it beyond just listening to this episode and being inspired by it, you will feel it even more. And I cannot wait. I can't wait, because the real magic of this comes from within yourself. So I'm just here to guide you along the way and introduce this to you and to give you tools and validations and ideas of ways that can help you succeed. So now I would like to share with you who I am and what my story is. And my journey toward imperfectionism has been a long one. And I really started unpacking how much perfectionism was impacting me when I started my training to become a coach. And when you listen to this, I hope that you learn that and take away from this that there is a way forward. And I'll share with you what I've done, and I'll share with you how I can help you get there. So in this journey of my training to become a professional coach, before I signed up to become a coach, I was very high achieving and ambitious. And I was incredibly hard on myself, whether or not it was something related to my career, or my life, or my friends, or romantic relationships, or the way I was living, or taking care of myself, anything. The criticism that I delivered to myself was off the charts. I could criticize myself on almost every single thing I did. And on the other hand, I have always been passionate and excited about self-improvement and learning how to be a better version of myself and growing in general. And I didn't realize that passion, coupled with the criticism, was actively chipping away at my confidence, even though I was learning, even though I was growing, and even though I was becoming a better version of myself every day. It's wild that throughout my whole life and career, I've been focused on improving. You know, I was constantly striving to be better, to be more, happier, and be more fulfilled than I was a year ago, a month ago, a minute ago. Like, the future was always out of reach for me. And that was what I was most focused on, was the future. And the way that that would, kind of manifest for me was that I would pick a goal, something that I was excited about, something that I wanted to work toward. And as soon as I decided what my next goal was, I would immediately think, I'm not good enough. Not until I reach that goal. I am not enough. I am not doing the right things until I reach that goal. And then, as soon as I would reach the goal, I would barely celebrate. And I would immediately pick a new goal. And I would forget about all the work that I had done. Or, even if I hadn't forgotten about the work that I'd done, I wouldn't give myself credit for that work. And I would focus on the next thing I needed to achieve because I wasn't there yet. It was exhausting. Like, this was such a hard way to live. And the moment that I realized that this wasn't working for me anymore, all came to a head during a performance review at my corporate job, where I received the middle of the road most common rating. And this wasn't a bad rating. It was a thumbs up. It means you are doing a good job. We are happy that you're here, but you're just not the top of the pack. You're doing great. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. And even though it was all good, for someone who is ambitious, who is a high achiever, who is always striving to be a superstar and be seen as top talent, one of the best, who loved being consulted, who wanted to be the right hand to managers and leaders, the first person somebody would call up if they had a question or needed a different perspective on something or just a gut check on an approach. This was a really hard rating for me to get. It hit really hard. And not only was this rating not what I wanted, because I was looking for this external validation, this was the third year in a row that I got this rating. And it was honestly really hard for me to accept it as my reality. I was devastated. I could not believe that this is how I was seen, how I was viewed. Like I said, it was just hard for me to accept that this was my reality. I was devastated. And the funny thing is, I was doing a great job. I was getting a lot of praise. My manager was very excited about the work I was doing. People loved working with me and collaborating with me. And yes, of course, there were things that I could have improved, as always, as with anyone. But I was also really burnt out and was pushing myself too far and spreading myself too thin. And it didn't feel right. This rating didn't feel right. It was like a sign from the universe that I needed to check what was going on and forge a new path forward. And I realized that my career and how I was navigating it ultimately was just not working anymore. And of course, before, I got to this conclusion that I needed to forge a new path, I blamed others. I blamed the environment, the company, the review process, the system. And then I shifted the blame to myself. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. And I thought that I wasn't good enough, when it's funny because the rating in and of itself means that you are exactly right. We want you here. But that's not what it meant to me. And I changed the meaning of this rating. And I was finding my value and my worth as a human in my rating and how my employer saw me. instead of who I am and how I contribute to and show up in this world. And this is another thing that we'll get into in a future episode on a broader scale and how to navigate that. But I wasn't seeing the value in myself outside of this. And I went on this journey that I very lovingly refer to as my career identity crisis or my career existential crisis, where I thought, oh my God, I cannot be this way anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I need something different. And I spent about 6 months exploring what I wanted and what I needed to do next to be happier in my career, which in the grand scheme of a career is actually kind of a condensed amount of time to figure this out, but it can be done. But it also was a lot of time really to sit with this decision when normally I feel like I had made pretty quick decisions after thinking through a lot of options and what I wanted to do next. This one took me a little bit longer than normal. And here's the kicker. I was really looking for, and what I found was what would make me happier in my life, what I wanted in my life, and what it does, and how I show up in my career. That's what I wanted, was like to figure out like how I wanted to show up and what I wanted in my life. And it did lead to a career change and full-time coaching, but it really wasn't about that. It was about me, and it was all about me and how I viewed myself. And along the way, I was wrestling with perfectionism, and I was learning how to trust myself, learning how to let go of control, because I couldn't control the situation or how I was being perceived by my employer or manager or the rating system. And I learned that letting go of that control and focusing more on my own passions and creating a skill set and mindset and learning tools that changed the course, that would end up changing the course of the rest of my life and put me on a completely different trajectory than I was on, would ultimately lead to way more satisfaction and more happiness and way less burnout. And then after those 6 months is when I realized I needed to pursue coaching. And then I signed up for a program. I spent thousands of dollars of my own money on a self-improvement coaching program for myself. I invested in myself. I took a chance on myself, and I had never spent that kind of money on myself that wasn't, like a thing or an event or something that I could physically show for it. And it was the best financial decision that I've ever made. Ever. And the experience that I got from going through that program was unbelievable. I'm a totally different person than I was, but I also feel more like myself than I have in a really long time. And I'm still changing all the time. I've learned so much about myself and about others. And I know the tools to help me change how I view myself and how I feel about myself, and have actual powerful, lasting mindset shifts other than just saying like a positive affirmation every day over and over again, because that doesn't work for the kind of transformational change that I am talking about. And as I went through my coaching journey, I learned to redefine what success meant to me. And I learned who I was, who I want to be, and how to get there. And all the while I was commingling this passion of mine with my full-time job, and I learned how to make them work together. And I was obsessed with coaching, and it took up like all the free space and time that I had in my brain. And I had never been the type of person to spend every free moment doing one specific thing and having that one specific thing be completely about myself. This was a very inward journey for me. That was what coaching was like for me. And I balanced all of that with my full-time job, with my relationship with my husband, with my dog. I fostered another dog. I still maintain relationships with friends and family and community around me, and I had amazing experiences. And my husband actually lost his job in the midst of all of this going on, and we were newlyweds, and I continued forward. And this was one of the wildest times of my life, and I'm so glad that coaching was there to accompany me along the way. And as I completely redefined my skill set as a coach as I was going through these experiences, and I became a confident and passionate coach, I integrated it into how I worked with myself and with others, and I brought it into my corporate job. I brought it into the way that I was managing my direct and indirect reports, and it changed my relationship with all of the people that I mentioned in my life. So my husband, my friends, my family, with myself. And then I started coaching part-time. And I think all of this was how I was able to manage all of the wild things that were happening at the same time. And then after I coached part-time, I realized it was time to fully lean into it and become an entrepreneur. And I never, ever thought I was going to be able to be an entrepreneur. The hustle that I perceived there to be was not appealing to me, and I was not confident in myself. I thought, there's no way. I can't sell my work. That's wild. There's no way people will want to pay me directly to work with me. Like, I did not even see that as a possibility. And now I cannot imagine doing anything else. The way that I'm able to show up for and support my clients and show them the potential of unlocking these fantastic possibilities and life-changing perspectives, it is one of the most rewarding, amazing things. And this, like, now I know that this is like what I need to be doing right now. And this is absolutely the right thing for me. And after my husband got a job again, after having been laid off, that's when I really started to think about it. Like, is this time to be an entrepreneur? Like, do I go full time now? Is this it? And it was. And I did not think it would happen as fast as it did. Like, I was mentally prepared to stay in corporate for another year or two, but I realized that with this perfectionist journey, there is not ever going to be a perfect time. And everyone always says that there isn't a perfect time or circumstance to do the thing that you want to do. But I was ready to not let the fear of failure hold me back from taking this risk and truly betting on myself and just leaping into coaching full time. And I am so grateful for everything that I learned in corporate. And now I get to take a step back and look at the corporate environment through the lens of helping corporate ambitious professionals, because those are the people that I am most obsessed with working with and coaching and supporting, because I understand the ins and outs of building a fulfilling career. I understand how wonderful it can be. I understand how painful it can be, how important it is to figure out how to show up in a way that feels good. And so it's exciting to be on the outside of that and helping people that are there and doing what's right for me. This is what's right for me right now. You know, I had to do it. I felt like as soon as I had the opportunity to do this full time and realized it was a possibility, I felt like I couldn't live another moment not building my dream life and my dream career and not embracing this imperfect way to build an income and have a career any longer. Like, this is what I live and breathe and what I actually believe, you know, taking the risk, jumping and quitting without something completely guaranteed. This is one of the scariest things I've ever done. And it's one of the most exciting and energizing things that I've ever done. And even though I miss the people that I worked with, I had to do this for myself. And over the past couple of years, I've learned that when I connect to myself and what I want and what matters to me, that is when I can make the most impact on the world and show others how possible it is to break free of rules and limiting beliefs and self-doubt that just really holds us back from living this singular life that we get to live and just making the most of it. Now I am here and I have to broadcast everything that I've learned so that I can help you navigate your own version of this journey. And I am ready to share what I've learned so that you don't have to do it alone. And so you can understand that the way that you're feeling is not wrong. Not wanting to live this way anymore or feeling like something isn't right, that is your intuition telling you that something has to change. And I am not saying that your journey will be the same as mine. You may find that you love your job and you love working in corporate America. Like, there is so much goodness that comes from working in a corporate environment and working for somebody else. You do not have to be an entrepreneur to deconstruct this perfectionism. If you put in the work and you stay open, you will learn how to do this for you and how to have a fulfilling career and life. And all this to say, I have seen perfectionism creep in myself and in my clients and in my colleagues and my friends and family even. And I've seen how powerful it is to shift from this focus on performing and results and delivering to showing up as your whole self and building an environment where you can thrive and where your ideas are nourished and you support yourself and you give yourself compassion and you create space for yourself to be who you are and who you want to be. And the fun benefit of all of that is that you will have amazing results in your work and life after doing this work. But when we remove that as the goal, as the reason, as the driving force, as the metric of which we measure how we are moving forward, everything becomes so much more clear and satisfaction starts to creep in the best way. And I want to normalize imperfection. And I will provide you with tools and stories and perspectives that will empower you to lead with clarity and confidence and authenticity and become the type of leader that others want to follow. And throughout this series, I will have solo episodes. I will also bring on people who are fantastic for some interviews. And I'm so excited to bring on so many different amazing guests who I will be interviewing so they can share their perspective on perfectionism and how it's impacted them in their lives and their careers and how they've seen it impact those around them and the beauty they see in imperfection and how they break down their own perfectionism. There are so many rich topics and tools and ideas coming your way, and I cannot wait to share them with you. And we are going to talk about a lot of topics related to perfectionism, and some that you can expect to hear are about leadership and self-trust and ambition and authenticity. We will talk about what perfectionism really is and how it manifests in our lives and how it impacts our brains. We will talk about the symptoms of a perfectionist. I will talk a lot about toward my journey toward imperfectionism. We will talk about the gifts and the shadow sides of perfectionism, perfectionism at work and against work, and the correlation of confidence and perfectionism, and how perfectionism holds you back and how it prevents you from being confident in some cases. There is so much we are going to talk about and get into. So tune in each week where I will release a new episode for you to learn more about imperfectionism, perfectionism, and how you can move from the things that are holding you back and learn how to propel yourself forward. So I encourage you to tune into Perfecting Imperfectionism each week and subscribe and share and leave a comment if this resonated with you. So follow along. And next week, I am going to dive into what perfectionism actually is. And so you are going to learn a little bit about what this is, how it shows up, and we may talk about whether or not you are a perfectionist. And so if something resonated with you, or if you want to follow along, I would love to know if you subscribe or if you share with a friend, or if you have questions or thoughts about this content or this story, or if there's content that you want me to cover in a future episode, please leave a comment. I am so looking forward to your thoughts and to hear what you have to say and to curate my content in a way that is most supportive and helpful to you. So do let me know in the comments. And if you are navigating your own perfectionism story and are learning how to embrace imperfectionism, know that it is coming. And know that there are other people out there who are just like you, who are learning how to do this work. It is never too late. And it is never the wrong way to learn how to perfect imperfectionism. So thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot wait to talk to you again soon. So I will see you next time. This was Perfecting Imperfectionism. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Perfecting Imperfectionism. Tune in each week for a new episode where we will explore challenges that overt and covert perfectionists face. For more information on how to work with me, or if you want customized one-on-one support, head to lauracoaches.com to book your complimentary consultation with me, where you'll learn more about yourself, your goals, and the steps you need to take to achieve them. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Always consult a qualified professional to address your specific concerns.